Yes, now, unless we work very closely together, we could be caught here until the crack of doom. Oh, what's the use? Could I have one of your pickles? I had a rushed lunch. Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about Warrior's Gate, written by Steve Galliard and directed by Paul Joyce. Although there was some arguments during the filming of this, and he left for a short period of time. He came back. So a little bit of this story, in mainly part 3 and 4, is actually directed by... A little bit of this story is directed by Graham Harper in his first directorial debut. He would later go on to direct some of the most well-known Doctor Who stories, both in the classic series and in New Who. So that's really cool. This story ends the E-Space trilogy, which sees Dr. Romana, K9 and Adric stuck on the other universe of E-Space, trying to get back to our main universe. Now, a big complaint with a lot of people with the E-Space trilogy is that for the past 2 stories, it wasn't as weird as it should be. Those stories could have easily been set in our normal universe. However, here we actually have a story which takes advantage of its other universe, but it does have some elements that keeps it grounded into our universe. For the starters, we have a group of people on a ship, and they're very casual. The villains of our story are very casual. They are this group that they've got stuck in between the boundaries of normal space and E-space, and they're trying to get out. However, they use these like lion people to navigate them through the time stream so they can hopefully get back into normal space. However, the main one, I believe his name is Borok, something happens with time, and he escapes into the TARDIS, to which he tells the Doctor that to warn him about his past and their future, giving him a sinister warning. And then he leaves, and the Doctor goes following him into this weird like church room thing. But yeah, so that's basically the setup of the story. Now, the directing in this, Paul Joyce, does wow. Just wow. This story could have easily been in a movie. I mean, some of the model shots aren't particularly great, and some of the green screen effects don't particularly work in terms of pure effect. But in terms of camera angles, especially when we're on sets, my God, is it gorgeous. In fact, the first opening of the scenes right after the credits in episode 1 is just long shots of the inside of the ship, mostly just with silent and Peter Howell's music complementing his cinematography, and we get some really stunning shots of the inside of the ship, setting the mood for our story that there is some sinister but also very mysterious elements that have been going on in this. Now, yeah, so I think it's important to state, in terms of my opinions, is that when I first watched this story, I really hated it. I couldn't make one sense of it, and it seemed like a lot of scenes were weird for the sakes of being weird. But the more I watch it, the more I learn to appreciate this story. It is actually a very well written story, and when you really work out what's going on, the story is really simple to follow. The Doctor goes into this castle-like room where he is followed by the henchmen of the human people, the human characters, and they seem to be very brash and arrogant. Romana also leads I'm everywhere on a place on this. is really hot when I'm filming this. I'm filming this in September. So let me backtrack a bit. So Romana gets captured by the human characters because they figure out that she's time sensitive, and that's what they need because Barok has escaped. And she tries, and she using her as a sort of tool. They project the image of the gate, the warrior's gate, and they go there, and that's where they find the doctor. Whilst this is going on, K9 is having a bit of trouble, and he's basically deteriorating, and they need to find parts for him. Whilst this, Adric helps him to try and get to the ship to help Romana. However, there's a bit of a continuity error in this story. Well, I say continuity error. They try to search for Romana, and then one scene, K9 appears next to the doctor, and Adric just disappears for the story for a bit until he pops up in the next part where he just wanders onto the ship to try and save Romana. So yeah, that's a very odd moment. But that's only really a nitpick because the story is well written, well executed, and just well directed. When the Doctor follows Barok into the Warrior's Gate, should we call it? Barok actually goes into a mirror and disappears in there, and the Doctor has a little wander around in this castle with loads of cobwebs and stuff. And my God, does this set look stunning! And the directing around it is just also fantastic. And it's also here where the Doctor meets up with the Dungdon robot. These guard things that have tried to overthrow these masters that they have. They were built by slaves to overthrow the masters. And the Doctor believes it is Barok's people, the Thralls, I believe they're called the Thralls. And yeah, but however, when the human characters come in, they show that they are brass, they are naive, they feel like they're in power, they're in control. At least the main character does. He feels like he's got to be he's constantly taking action, and he's constantly bossing people around. And he starts off threatening the Doctor, only for the Doctor to disappear into the mirror as well. And Barok shows him, seems to control time in this place, and takes the Doctor back in time where he sees that the Thralls are having like this lunch, and there's this human character giving drinks to people. And just the strange atmosphere, the stuff, the fact that you don't know what's going on is really spooky and stuff. But there is a great story to be told here, as Doctor soon learns after one of the Thralls attacks the human servant, and realizes that they are the slaves, and he puts together this plot that the humans were originally the slaves to the Thralls, but they made the Dungdon robots and overpowered them, and now they are the slaves to these new human characters that have just appeared in this E-space. The Thralls have the power to go back and forward into E-space and normal space as they plead, but nobody else can have that power. Everyone has to struggle to get in there and have a huge, enormous amount of power. So yeah, there's this whole theme of oppressors and rulers. The story of the Thralls mirrors the story of them being using humans as slaves, is mirrored by them being the slaves of this captain who uses them as a power source for their ship, because they take a Thrall and use their the time-sensitive stuff to guide them back into normal space. However, this is a very dangerous process, and some of them die during this, and they act like they don't care, and when they die, they just bring another one that they've captured and start the process again. But one of them gets freed and saves Romana, and they have this weird thing where they touch their hands together and they just kind of like teleport into here, and so there's a lot of going on. I don't think I'm doing the story much justice, if I'm going to be honest. I mean, we got the Doctor learning all this. We got Romana learning about the thralls in terms of their captivity and the human characters. We also have Adric and K9 basically learning the general aspects of this universe. Now, if there's one thing I can complain about this story is Adric in it. Adric seems like dead weight in the story. Sure, he does stuff in the plot, but I think you could have easily cut them out and if you wouldn't feel a difference in the story in terms of plot. I think on pacing it would actually improve it. And most of his story seems to be helping K9 get into point A to point B. There is one bit where he threatens to shoot all the human characters so that the Doctor and Romana can be free. And yeah, there's just so much going on, and the pacing is incredibly fast, apart from the bits with Adric. But the story does take its time to take some breathers, especially when it comes to directing. There's some quiet moments, there's some levity. The story has a lot of humour as well, mainly to do with the human characters, like the henchmen, shall we say. There's these two particular ones that are just like your average Joes, and they kind of see that they are basically on the low class of their ship, and they're just casual and stuff. There's also a scene in which one of them calls up and it's like tells them to close the door, and the door closes, and it's like, wait until after I've gone through the door, then close the door, and the door opens and he walks in, stuff like that. So there's a lot of humour in this story, and sometimes it works, sometimes it does come off a bit cartoonish for the plot, but they're very small moments, and it just lightens up the levity of this particular adventure. But what really strikes out in terms of this is its strange, odd atmosphere. The whole thrall things, and the fact that they can manipulate time to an extent, and there's a bit where they flip a coin and time distorts, and when they go in through the mirror, they go into a universe where like a sort of strange barrier where everything is black and white apart from our characters. So it gives off a really dreamlike quality. That's actually a great way to explain the story. It's very dreamlike. In fact, one of the working titles, I believe, was something like The Dream Makers, The Dream Eaters, The Dream something, The Dream Machine, I can't remember. And yeah, it really does, the weird strangeness of this plot really works because it's not weird for the sake of weird. It does actually tell a story, and it uses the visual medium to express the plot and its strange themes. So I would struggle to see this story panning out in novelisation. It has been novelised. I think every Classic Who story has been novelised at this point. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, please tell me. But yeah, so the Doctor, Romana, Adric and K9 head back to the TARDIS, and they soon discover that to try and break into the mirror, to try and get back into their normal space, because the leader of the humans has basically gone mad and just wants to get through the mirror because he believes that's how they're going to get back to normal space. He's going to use his ship's engines to basically blast it into flames. But the Doctor and Romana quickly realise, because the ship is made out of dwarf star alloy, the power of it is so immense that it will just destroy everything in E-space. Destroy everything in this small bubble of the gateway to E-space, I should say. Adric first realises that might be a good thing, because with that sort of energy they can use it to transport themselves back into normal space. But the Doctor and Romana want to go back to save the Thralls, because they've been enslaved on this ship, and they will go down with everyone. So the Doctor and Romana actually go to save the Thralls. So the story, the main villains are the humans, which is very strange. You don't really hear a lot of stories where when there are wacky aliens, the human characters are the main villains. We get in a scene of which the Doctor gets attacked by the captain, who's basically gone mad, and then Borok actually returns and tells Doctor and Romana to do nothing, and he teleports them back outside near the TARDIS. Whilst they're there, the Doctor runs into the TARDIS, and Romana quickly just announces that she doesn't want to go with the Doctor. She's going to stay in E-space. The story does actually build it up. There's a bit at the start where she's talking to Adric, and she's like, what if me and the Doctor go our separate ways? And Adric's like, oh, you won't do that, would you? And there's a little bit then when the Doctor's like, tells her, do you want to get back to normal space to Gallifrey? And she says, of course I don't want to. So basically this is her defying the Time Lords, which is really strange, because I don't think we ever find out what the Time Lords actually want. Maybe it's explained later on, who knows. I can't remember if they do in the TV show. I'll have to keep watching. So yeah, but the actual exit is really quick, really abrupt, and you could see that something wasn't clicking. It's literally like, come on Romana, I'm not going. What? Yes, okay, bye. Also take K9, okay. And then the TARDIS dematerializes. Romana and Barok go into the mirror, into the strange universe which he took the Doctor to earlier. And when the fire blows everything up, it kills all the human characters, but because the Thralls have a strange aspect of power, they're actually unharmed, and they travel back into the mirror being free now. And Barok and tells Romana that there are many Thralls that have been slaves on many planets. We are going to help them. And the story ends with the Doctor and Adric in the TARDIS, and the Doctor kind of gets really angry at Adric before stating that Romana's going to be okay, and she'll be the best Romana of all the Romanas, which is strange when he says that, because there's only really two, and one of them only lasted a season, so it was a very bizarre thing when he says the greatest Romana of them all. And there you go, that ends the E-Space trilogy and the end of Warrior Gate. Overall, it is a really well written story. It's very beautiful directed. It reminds me a lot of the first two stories in this season, which the directing is just highly above standard. Wow, just an amazing piece of television in terms of a visual style. Maybe Adric and K9 are a bit of a dead weight. The plot really plays on the fact that K9 is having trouble, but it doesn't really play too much part into the plot. But it's very weird, very strange, and the more and more I watch it, the better and better I enjoy it, to the point where it's probably in my top 40. But yeah. So there you go, that's Warrior's Gate. So join me next time where we will be delving back into spin-off territory, specifically audio dramas, and we're going to find out what Romana does next when she goes back to Gallifrey with Leela and the two K9s. So join me next time for the weapons of choice. See you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-ra.